My love. Ooh, my passion. My favorite saying. I mean, yeah, my favorite monster. It's completely normal. Why are you looking at me like that for? Yes, I know the title is questionable. He is technically weak to ice already, but I mean, look at him. He lives in Arctic regions because, you know, fuck it, when you're that strong. Now, if it isn't obvious already, I love RAJANG. I adore him. He's my boy. There's no other monster that can sway me away from him. Don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of other monsters, but my only wish is to be bear hugged by him. Right, and of course, RAJANG eats anything compromised of meat. Okay, but he does love himself a Kirin horn, which then brings me onto my point of how he gets this form. So like normal, every now and then he can hunt a Kirin. Although this one that he's hunting now turns out to be an Orochi Kirin. After breaking off the horn, he develops an acquired taste. He only wants the icy horn from the Kirins. It becomes his new favourite tasty treat. After this, he may then undergo a physical shift, horn shortening, fur whitens, his eyes shading from that piercing, scary red to that soulless, damned black. Now, only after hunting more and more Orochi Kirins does he then actually lose his affinity for thunder, and he gains obviously a much colder attribute. He then develops his attacks from thunder to ice and snow. Going on now to his visual changes, as I just said, he's going to go from thunder to ice and snow. So I'd expect him to have more of a white coat to him, more of a pinker underbelly. His coat is going to be a lot thicker, so his fur is going to be a lot thicker to keep him warm, considering he still is a mammal. His tail would have fallen off, lost to frostbite, he had to kiss it goodbye, just like all the strongest Saiyans have to. And then with his horns, again, no horns or tiny horns. But yeah, I really want to know, wonder what it looks like to see his little pink underbelly. That might be quite cute. And his eyes, I want them to fade from that piercing red to just a jet black. Jet black eyes with white fur coat. Oh geez, that just screams nightmare. You know what, it's fine. I can just put him in a trap and run away, right? Well, yeah, you still have to be smart about it. So the pitfall trap will not work on him while he's not enraged. Just like always, the shock trap will work whether he's not enraged or enraged now, as he's lost his thunder resistance. So the shock trap, he won't be able to break it anymore. He's going to be stuck in that shock trap whether he likes it or not. Although he's going to create his own trap for us. So like Pocarodon, I probably butchered his name, he is a monster from Monster Hunter Frontier. He's a seal otter type like Leviathan, and he can create hunter-sized pitfall traps. So RAJANG has a lot of moves, a fair amount of moves where he hits into the ground. So imagine he does a single hit punch or double fisted punch into the ground where he makes a pitfall trap for the hunter. Now this will most likely only work on snowy terrain where he can actually break his hand through the ground. Again, it could work in the concrete area, but to keep this the Yeti theme, keeping it on the snowy maps, doing it where there is snowy flooring to make it easier for him to make this pitfall trap for the hunter. And again, it'll be easier for the hunter to fall into. Alright, all jokes aside, but who else besides him, besides the notorious beast himself, to trap hunters? It would honestly be a nice change for the series, don't you think? If not, I mean, you can disagree, but in my opinion, it is a fun addition to the game, where it can be, just like how the hunters can now in Monster Hunter Rise elementally blight monsters. Now going on from what we can see about him, what will we feel from him, so his moveset changes. So basically, like I mentioned, all thunder attacks are now going to have an ice and snow effect. So his thunder beam, for example, very notorious attack, is going to be an ice beam. Yes, this means he is going to ice blight us, obviously. So being stamina deprived against a quick boy like him sounds like a lot of fun. Well, to me. Anyways, bringing back Snowman debuff as well will be amazing. Because again, being slow against a RAJANG is fair. Look, I love the guy, right? And I want him to pummel me, okay? Just instead of his beams doing chunk damage, they do just a little bit less, where the trade-off is it leaves a little bit of puddles or snow. These snow have very sharp ice shards in them, so when a hunter walks into them, it's going to tick damage them as they step into it. The thunder one did have power and penetration, but this new beam again just has less power, but it's more of an environmental hazard. Now, I'm in two minds about this, I can't actually make my mind up, but the idea fundamentally is his beam will ice blight you, and the puddles, if you step in them, the environmental ones, of snow and ice shards in there, your hunter will start to bleed. Again, I can't really figure out the orientation I want this in, that's just the idea. Blankables, where he jumps up, spins in the air and like does a little front flip, body slams down onto the ground, single or triple, whichever one. They now leave decently sized slippery ice circle patches. So now once a hunter runs on that, they're going to have less control in it. They'll be wiggling around, so expect to slide uncontrollably like you do when you're bubble blighted by a Mizutsune. A new animation I'd like to see is he can breathe out snow in front of him, then swipe at it aggressively with either hand. It will launch basically a mini tsunami on top of you if you are close enough, and if enough of this snow does land on you, or maybe repeatedly times, you would then get that snowman debuff. That just sounds epic to me. Now to clarify on his snowy, frosty breath and his ice affinity, this kind of Rajang is rare, so his control of it wouldn't be top tier. So when he does create these icy puddles with the shards in there and the snow that he can produce is not going to be super thick and super deep like in areas in the Hoarfrost Reach. It's meant to provide little patches to make it harder for you to try and deal with his movement, and you need to be careful of where you're standing. So again, another example is like Almudron, how he can create the mud puddles and it slows you as you're walking into them. That's kind of the idea, but smaller in different areas as he's really quick, so it's going to be dropping off of him and from his attacks. Oh yes, now when he grabs you, he's going to ice blight you directly, and he's going to show no mercy. So again, standard grab animation as before. He's going to be holding you in his frosty grip. I'd like to see like the Furious Rajang kind of grab, which I'll show you here. But instead of it being a thunder beam right to your face, it's going to be the ice beam going straight to your face as well. Ooh, neither one sounds nice, to be honest. Oh, but for me, it's lovely. Now, ultimately, him being a mammal and doing ice and snow, the lore-wise, I can see it having faults to him because he is literally walking muscle. So despite having a heavier coat, instead of him buffing himself with frost armor like Zambatros or creating frost weapons like Gosarag, I wanted to rather add in more of an environmental snow ice kind of counter effects instead, just to make him a bit more unique. And again, he does have to stay somewhat warm, so despite him having a thicker coat, it's still not going to be enough if he is creating the ice and snow effects. So that's the path I took it down, more environmentally effectish instead of just buffing himself even more. Because I mean, look, does he need buffing anymore? Yes, he does. Even still, all science aside, with the thicker coat of fur, I don't see why he couldn't get frost armor lining on his arms. Normal Rajang can harden his arm when he enrages, so for his enraged state, I'm pretty sure he can still create some kind of frost armor lining on his arms. I think that's enough to mimic, again, the hardening of his arms in his normal version. On top of that, just staying with the hardening, I think working more on the environmental effects is going to boost his enraged state. So no more for the physical, more for the environmental, make him a bit more of an all-rounder, different kind of feeling Rajang, instead of just the same Rajang with ice. Now, with Lunagaron looking like he has his own winter map shown off in his trailer, who else besides a Yeti Rajang could Capcom add to make you want to U-turn back to Kamura Village? I mean, how cool would it be? Get it? To be caught in between the Ice Werewolf and a Yeti Rajang. Damn, I'm telling you, that's a place that I want to be. Now tell me what do you think, comment down below. While you're down there, you can tell me your favourite monster, hit like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.